This is not intended to be a comprehensive or complete guide to how to build a slide deck. It's really intended to provide some food for thought, some examples of what we've been talking about in class as you work on creating the slide deck that will be your final presentation, your final assignment for English 203. First thing I'll say about this first slide is that I am claiming fair use to use Dilbert. If I were speaking, let's say, in front of 1,000 people at a conference for which I was being paid, I would not use this without permission. However, since this is for a college course, academic purposes, I believe I'm okay in using this, and it's funny. And so it helps make my point. However, as I said, if I were making a living as a professional speaker and I were speaking in front of an audience where I was being paid, I wouldn't use this. So what I want to do here is just give you some basic examples of how to go about creating a slide deck that achieves its purpose and avoids death by PowerPoint. I provide this image here to show an excellent example of what a slide is for. So here you have, and it's so obvious that it's kind of feels a little simplistic. I get that. But here we have a person giving a presentation, and then she's using some data that has been converted into a graph. That's a perfectly useful way to combine images with words. In your progress report, part of the assignment was to include at least 3 charts or graphs just to get you the practice and experience of communicating in that way and using an image supplemented by words, or said another way, using an image to supplement your text to convey information as efficiently and effectively as possible. This is what a slide deck is for. Think about things that you can't convey effectively with just words, and it could be a simple idea, concept, even a sense of something. And that's why sometimes you can use an image that of people or things happening, or something that evokes a certain emotion even, to help supplement the words you're saying. The slides are not your presentation. You are preparing a report that is going, once again, to be mostly words. You're going to deliver it, or you're going to presumably deliver it, you're going to prepare it as if you're going to deliver it as an oral presentation, an oral report, supplemented with 10 to 15 slides that will assist you in conveying the information, but they are not the presentation. And this is lost on so many people all the time. You, as you are listening to this, know exactly what I'm talking about, and I think you will start to get the feel for what to do to avoid that. Here's a slide, the part above the blue stripe, that I use in one of my other classes, and I provide this to you to reinforce a point and then to explain why sometimes I break this approach. So obviously, again, here is a slide that if you look at it and there's nothing else to explain it, it kind of means nothing, but it's clean, it's simple, and it serves its purpose, which is to simply supplement, give the eye something to look at while there is audio to listen to in a class presentation, in a class lesson that I've prepared. When you are tempted to throw a lot of stuff at a slide, or if you're tempted to use a complex or strange looking design, I encourage you to swat that away. There are a lot of interesting designs available to you out there. I would choose something simple. There are times when there are exceptions. In other words, there are times when the 5-word rule or the 7-element rule or whatever kind of rule that we're talking about here when it comes to Death by PowerPoint may not be appropriate. There are times in PowerPoint presentations that I put together that I use a lot more than 6 or 7 different elements. But there's a reason behind it. There is a purpose behind it, and there is an audience that is appropriate for it. Usually it's when I'm providing a lesson for one of my classes and the students are my audience and they have to do some extra lifting, some heavy lifting, because it's a college course, and so I will go into a lot of detail on something both in the slide and in the audio content that I'm using to supplement it, because the expectation is they're going to pay attention, they're going to dive into that, and I'm providing a lot of explicit information. But generally speaking, and for this assignment, I would encourage you to keep it clean. I'm not talking about the language, I'm talking clearly about keeping it uncluttered. Keep it clean, keep it simple, emphasize the narrative that you're going to be adding to it. This is, after all, an English course, a business writing course, and so the emphasis here is on the words that you're using. The reason why we're doing an assignment using slide decks is they are so often badly done, and we're going to focus on how to strip it down to its basic elements and really focus on the spoken content. You may not choose to record your assignment, but you're going to provide a script for it, and that's where the meat of this assignment is. Okay, so after everything that I've just said, I'm going to show where I have broken the rule and why. So this is a slide. The top part of this slide you're looking at represents a slide that I use in a lesson for this class, and it has way more words than I've been telling you you should be using, and here's why. I, for this purpose, am providing you the equivalent of what would have been delivered as a lecture or a presentation in a face-to-face class. Since we're not face-to-face, it's important that I can deliver to you very specific information when I'm providing assistance on an assignment. And so here I include a whole bunch of words, right? And I go through it. The audio for this goes through this step by step and then explains further. Now, why do I do this? Because you have access to this anytime you want it. You can freeze frame the audio and stop it right there. And if you want, write the words down or print them out. If you're attending a conference or a PowerPoint presentation via Zoom, you have no control like that. You are at the mercy of the presenter. And you need to assume that when you are delivering your presentation, you are in charge of it, and that your audience also doesn't have the option of stopping a slide, printing it out, writing all the words down. Now, one of the things that goes hand in hand with making a good presentation, whether it's in a report that's fully written, or it's a report like this where you're including these visual elements, is to make sure that your audience, your live audience, if there is one, and for this one we're presuming there would be, understands that they can ask you to stop anytime and ask questions. That's an important piece of a good oral presentation. It's not about just ramming stuff through and getting it done. There is an element of interactivity here that is unique to live or face-to-face report making. But back to my main point. Yes, there are times, and if you can explain to me, let's say you create a slide that has lots of words in it for your final report, your progress report done as a slide deck. If you can explain to me in your notes why you felt that was essential, then that's what I'm looking for, that you have thought it through. And in this case, I really felt like I needed to provide additional information that, for lack of a better explanation, breaks the rules of death by PowerPoint. Everything here is a guideline. Everything here that I'm talking about are best practices, but you need to be adaptable to your own report and your own audience and what the needs of that particular audience are going to be. Keep your slides consistent. Use a consistent design model. So even though here the blue stripe that has the topic for this slide now moves to the top, it's still the same basic design. So what I often see in presentations, even by experienced, high-paid speakers, is their presentations vary in design from one to another. One slide is one design, and you go to the next slide and it's something entirely different. And I think sometimes they think, well, that's going to keep people interested. No, it's going to keep people confused. What keeps people interested is the content, the words you're saying, not the crazy designs that you're throwing at them. So my last tip for this presentation, as you're thinking about how to build your slide deck presentation, your slide deck assignment, is to have an arc. Tell a story, a beginning, a middle, and an end. So again, this is on the top here, this is a copy of a slide that I have used, that I continue to use for one of my other classes. And clearly, by itself, it means nothing. It's there simply to supplement the things that I'm saying in the recorded lesson. So that's the key here. Think about a strong opening, a solid story, a solid content in the middle, and then a good, strong, and clear finish, so that when you're done, everybody knows you're done. You don't have to say, okay, now I'm done. It's obvious. So that's just a simple overview of some helpful approaches to building your slide deck for this final assignment.